I am very, very happy to have my beloved friend, Mary Omwake, with me. Mary's was a minister with the Overland Park Ministry. She got a special award. I didn't realize, so I looked up your bio just now that you got the Unity Peace Award. No, it was actually wasn't a peace. It was the God expressing through you.
I got the Child of Light. That every year they give the big award once a year.
Wow,
And
well,
I
congratulations.
also got the Peace Award, but that was from Martin Luther King Jr. Board of Preachers.
Well, and you know what? I have learned so much from you, Mary. We met here on Maui, and you have been a cheerleader and inspiration. So many times you brought beautiful people in to talk at the full MAC. You had Alan Cohen coming, you had Wayne Dyer coming, you had, of course, Ram Dass, your beloved Ram Dass that you were friends.
How about Deepak Chopra? How about Joe, the hottest name in Joe Vitale, the other Joe Dispenza?
Yeah.
Michael Beck was over, and Ricky. They loved Maui, Unity of Maui.
That's
but
right.
I learned long ago
Yeah.
that my job as minister is set a field and protect what comes out, on the platform. And so always I was looking for people that already had, were my teachers that already shining the light with me. And so I didn't diminish. I have so many ministers, Cindy, you might, if I have that guest on my radio program or something, and it's not like that. People say, oh God, Mary's so great. Look who she brought to us. And you get all of their blessings, and you also get the benefit of all of us together growing. So yeah, it was truly a lovely time. I have to admit, I'm with you on that one. That was a great experience for me. Well, so thank you for remembering that.
When I got that UNESCO Peace Award, I decided to start the Peace Project. So one of the first people I thought.
I know.
Because you understand, I've had people in all various walks of life, and I wanted to talk to because you understand soul to soul, how we reach peace and the peace that passeth understanding. And from that, all things flow forth. Of course, in meditation and in prayer, that for me is a wonderful place to be at, but it's living it. So I guess the question would be, how do you, knowing that peace that passeth understanding, that you experience, how do you bring that into your life?
Well, that is the aim of our heart, isn't it? The peace that Jesus promised that passes understanding. But I would just say in general, as we are going through what I call a forced shutdown, a short timeout, the Divine Mother herself has given planet Earth, which is just literally 10 years away from total mass, irreversible, called extinction. That's how close we were, everybody who's watching. And I know we have had so much help coming in and so much prayer and people working overtime to bring forth. But recently, what's beautiful, Cindy, is by some amazing gift, the world has got polluted over thousands and thousands and thousands of years of people not knowing one Mother God. When she got eliminated, the whole heart thing got shut down. Mm-hmm. So we didn't have a balance of power and love. It's not just love. Love without wisdom's a total disaster. Children running around not cared for. We love everybody, but nobody's disciplined. And only power without love is so cruel. I mean, we see that with children on mylar sheets in cages on a border. That's not even conceivable to your heart. Anybody listening that takes one breath into their heart and can say that sounds reasonable. That would deter some bad people. No, we're talking literally, they have pictures. A mother breastfeeding, Cindy, taken from her child, and they don't know where the mother is. Breastfeeding. So I'm just saying, but this is the distortion. What's happening now, and you feel it and see it. I feel it everywhere. The Divine Mother has been rising, as of course you're such a devotee of Mary, which I did wear for you. Look at this.
Oh, beautiful.
This is for Cindy.
Oh, I love it. Thank you.
I know, I put it on because I knew you'd like it.
I love it.
My white, I put white on. And everybody, this is the first time I've had makeup on, I think, in my I was in there looking in the dark trying to find things. And of course, time was running out, but excuse the cough. Every once in a
Even
while.
finding peace in that, because, I'm still learning the Zoom thing and I was trying to figure it all out. And, I
Oh,
just
and
knew it
I
was
never
so funny because I didn't even know if it was going to be on for today because I thought it's Mercury.
I know. And I was sitting there meditating because I knew I couldn't do it before 10:30. Actually, I would rather. But it turns out this is the moment. Spirit said
Yes.
that's what Cindy has. If that's what Cindy's has, then the only question is this is mine to do?
I
If
want
this
to
is
talk about the
do,
peace you find in your garden. You and Ram Dass were very, very close in your heart. And he said some lovely things people may not be aware of. Everyone knows he was very devoted to his guru, but at the same time, he at one point said to you, Mary, you have to find your teacher and your guru. And he said it was Jesus Christ. And so it was so beautiful. After his passing, we went to
well, what he said to me, Cindy, is, I am your brother. Ram Dass said, you and I came in together. We're linked through whatever that, and that was way beyond my pay grade. But he said that he was not my guru. He was not my teacher. He was not my spiritual path, the Das path, which is so beautiful. Oh, I love over there. They've started a sanctuary now. They meditate. They do chanting. It's just a mecca of love that his realization brought through. And I'm talking tens of thousands, probably millions of people who just by his willingness to take the next step. But he said to me something really interesting when we were talking about, years ago, but not more than 10, maybe 8. What's all this stuff you got going on in Christianity with forgiveness? He was Jewish, and then what his guru, he wanted to be Buddhist, but the guru that cracked his heart open, he says, do you think I want calendar art on my wall? I've got a PhD from Harvard, and so he's like, but he said, this whole thing about forgiveness. And I just, after a few attempts, to explain to the teacher that's much smarter than you, and then I realized Ram Dass forgiveness was not a big thing on his card because he didn't condemn. I was thinking, I started looking over and I thought, how you just might say a gossip or a little snicker, somebody walks by that doesn't please you or something. I never heard that from Ram Dass. So it wasn't important to him. But he realized that what comes from it, and he came to respect it. And at the end, Cindy, which I thought was so fascinating because, it was Maharaji and his monkey. And one time he said to the group that I was with, a large group, he said, I don't know why people would even listen to me. I talk to a dead man and worship a monkey. And, because he would just be like, that would be incredulous within any linear mind he could associate it. Yeah, this is where his source, he tapped in, and look who he came in a very special soul. I mean, Maharaji said that. But at the end of his life, I asked him, and this is not more than a year before he died, can you tell the difference between Buddha and Jesus? Because I was realizing after I started working with the Dalai Lama and opening to the compassion of the Buddha and the process of, I thought, oh my God, I can see how Jesus and Buddha would be really good friends. And he would think, because, Ram Dass had that slow way of coming through after his 22 years of stroke. And he said, Mary, I can't tell the difference anymore between Maharaji and Jesus. And at his final retreat and on his final personal altar, it was Maharaji, Jesus Christ, and the Mother Mary. So how you and I felt like, oh my God, our team is on the altar, okay, but basically that's just the piece and taking the steps. And like all of us who eventually get closer and closer to awakening, you have to go the distance. Cindy, what I said in your tool book today, your introduction to the book that's coming out before Christmas, which everybody go look at. What's it called? Spiritual Tools.
Oh, well, that's not coming up. That's not coming up. Wabam. My prayers, affirmations, and meditation audiobook is going to be done. I don't know spiritual tools.
Well, anyway, I put in the intro a great
You
Christmas
wrote a beautiful intro. Thank you.
But what you did was you took the states of consciousness that one who is awakened or awakening lives in. It's not something you're striving for. you start to live in a peace. You start to live in a radical I mean, it's not even a thought. If something comes up that irritates you, oh, you go within, you find in your heart, oh, it might be something like me in there. That's one of the biggest ahas for us to get on the path. Is every time you hear someone, I won't name the president, speak about someone else, it's called projection.
Mhm.
And we have had an example for 4 years of what projection looks like,
Yes,
because we all do it. It is, in fact, it's the path of awakening, because when it's in us, we can't see it. We project it out. Now, if we're wise, we go, we bring it back into the heart and we say, is there anything about me that looks like that? And when we do, that's what we forgive. And that's what I want to talk. I've got
So we're
three.
forgiving ourselves as well as the other person. And I know you practiced and studied Ho'oponopono, which of course
Yes.
is a beautiful practice. And the part is also that you and I understand we've gone through domestic violence, we've gone through abuse. You did at a young age. I did not as extreme as you. Of course, that's how I found Mother Mary. And finding that need for radical forgiveness for things that sometimes you can't, that you may have even buried. I buried that part of myself, but through the grace of Mother Mary, I found the strength to know you need to forgive, you need to release, you need to find that love, and then you can help find that peace. Because until you let all the shadows go and the darkness and the pain go, until you come back to that beautiful place of peace inside. I'm
And
watching
when we
birds.
remember,
Birds are
Cindy,
flying around behind
God
you.
in the darkness. See, we in our ignorance, we think, oh, there's light and love over here, and there's evil and dark. No, God is infinite. Now, the evil isn't God, but God is in there shining. And when that light is bright enough, the gift that we've been given, I'm not going to say more, but I think we will see it. It's just emerging now. Is the I don't know what you call them, the company of heavens, the great angels, the everybody is now focused around. Many of the archangels and energies are focused on planet Earth because, as we said, we were 10 years going over.
Yeah.
Humanity. Now the planet will come back.
Yeah.
But we're talking about a species called Homo sapiens sapien. That we could not live on that environment that we've polluted. Now that has been severed. They call them the enslavement codes: greed, pain, suffering, power, all of the things that have allowed people to take advantage of others. And what we see now is arising what Martin Luther King called, and you know how dear he is to my heart, the beloved community. And what is the beloved community that we've been working and bringing forth that required us to learn compassionate communication, that required us to look beyond the fact, man, if you're a Black person, you could have some real grievances, slavery, and then all of the abuses that have happened. And Black people being shot because their color of their skin at a disproportionate, and nobody should be shot, you know what I'm saying, but at a disproportional, like, that is just an abomination. We know that, but that's over now. Now we're going to have to clean it up, but that no longer can pull us down. We'll just wait and see, because that's what my guidance has told us, that is a gift of, because that was our only chance. It's done. It's severed. It can't come back. It's composted. It's back in the great light of the infinite. What is left is we do have misalignment uses of our abilities to create, like God, right? And so those we will clean up, but not with a still small voice, because Cindy, everybody on the planet now will be able to hear what was once a still small voice, because what did you say? It was veiled. I shut my heart down. I listened. I meditated year after year to hear the still. But now, you know what? All you have to do is sit down and say, hi, Cindy. How is God today?
Absolutely. And God is just so much shining forth, and the birds are around you. And I know you wanted to talk about, because you understand the Bible in many ways people don't. And you were telling me a story about two women and the healing and forgiveness and peace and how it gets resolved, and the problems if you don't resolve them. So I think you can explain it better than
Yes, I really want to do this, Cindy, because they are universe. There's 3 examples that I want to share. One is radical forgiveness that was not accepted. And we have over 2,000 years of pain and suffering as a result that we may have never even made the textbook had a different choice been made. Then I want to share an example right here in Hawaii of a spiritual Hawaiian practitioner, not just a lightweight coming in and doing their first round of Ho'opono, but someone that had made the direct link with the I am and was able to realize that there's nothing out there that didn't come from something in here. There's just nothing out there. Where would it come from? You know, there's only one. And then a third story that is so, I as a minister have heard the most beautiful healings of families, bodies, relationships that you can imagine, Cindy. And this is the one that I cry every time I hear it because it's so real. So let's get started. The first one happens, it's recorded in the book of Genesis. And there's two women. There's Sarai. And Sarai has been trying to give her husband what he wants the most in the world, Abram, a child. Well, she's evidently infertile. And so after she passes any chance of giving birth, she arranges with her blessing to have her personal handmaiden go lay with her husband to produce a child. It was a noble impulse. You can hear it, can't you? I want to give my husband. Well, when that child came and he started to play and her husband started to have a great affection for him, her jealousy and her rage and her discontent was just, she became really not, as it says, not a nice person to have around, but she was the wife. So she had, you know, power. Well, by some, I don't call it a miracle, giving birth at 90. That is not my idea of a God idea. I do you know any woman, Cindy, that's, oh, why don't I just have my first child at 90? No, maybe in another altered universe, but no. But anyway, the child was born. And so Ishmael was already 12 years old and Isaac came, right? And Isaac was the heir, except that because the Hagar's son, Ishmael, had already been recognized, Sarah did not want to share that. And so she talked her husband into sending her away. What he didn't know is she took Hagar and her 12-year-old son out into the desert and left them without food, without shelter, and without water. Now, that is what caused the first rift in the world of Abraham, right? Now, many people in the globally of 8 billion have never heard a story like that. Mm-hmm. But 2,000 years later, you know who does know that story? The Muslims. They remember what it was like that their founder, Muhammad, came out of the lineage, not of Abraham, well, of Abraham, but the lineage of Ishmael, who Sarai put out in the desert. You could be pissed off about that, Cindy. Now, what if Sarai had found the grace to say, I caused this. I want to find a way. What if we set up two countries? What if we set up an arid country and let Hagar and Ishmael have this land? And there would be no conflict. But look what we're living with now. We're living with the potential that the nuclear war will start there. And we're still dealing with it. Look how much of our money goes. So if a different choice had been made, we could have had a different outcome. I want to then go to someone you know, Hulin Haleakala. Now, he is a practitioner of Hawaiian spirituality and specifically Ho'oponopono. So he was given a terrible job. He had a license as a therapist. And there was a called criminal lockdown ward in the Hawaiian system that had both mental and criminal patients that were totally violent. They decided to put them all in one ward. And the vast majority were shackled or medicated. And the turnover rate was the highest in every department in Hawaiian government. The call-in rate, it was just a total, no, who wanted to go in there? You took your life in your hand. You literally, they say when you walked in, the staff walked in and walked with their backs all against the wall because they could be attacked from any angle. So they twisted his arm and he said, well, okay. So he took the job and he said, I've got to do it my own guidance. And he never had one group therapy session. He had one personal session with somebody sentenced there, he took their file. And Cindy, from that awareness that you have reached many, many times of total oneness, all ignorance is gone. He realized if he was reading that page about how a child had had cigarette burns on him, how that child had been just the horrors way before they ended up in this. And you read that. And everyone had some kind of, he did the Ho'oponopono, but not the personal. He went straight to spirit, to the ignorance within humanity that could allow such a horrendous, a child to be cigarette burned. I mean, think of it, Cindy. But he didn't go horrified and let's go arrest him no, he went into that clear place and he totally said, please forgive me. Forgive my ignorance. Forgive this, what I caused. And you people say, well, he didn't cause it. No, but he saw it. And when you see it, they say, when you see it, it's not yours to jump in and fix it. It may be yours to take action. But first you go within and you ask, what's the most helpful thing I can do? Well, after forgive me, I so deeply apologize, the second one, I deeply apologize. I love you. Well, there's a way, Cindy, when you say you love me, I believe you. There's so many people run by me and say, love you. And you go, you're not even a thought in there. Before you turn away, which is okay. I mean, my gosh, we love everybody. That should be the greeting. I love you. How could I not? You're me. But, and so the last word was thank you. Cindy, within 3 months of this, their turnover rate noticeably began to go down. The call-in rate began to lessen, not total, but lessen. Within 6 months, some of them had actually been taken off medication and returned to their, either if they were in jail, many of them were released because the fact is once they were forgiven, they were no longer violent, that kind of, or they went back to a mental place if they still needed that, but a place where they could be treated and cared for. But most of them totally either went to General Assembly and did well, or were totally released. In 3 years, that whole department was shut down. Wow. Nobody can explain it. Nobody can come in because only consciousness can do that. But you and I can start. So your tool book tells people, you want to live where Haleakala lives. You want to live where Ram Dass lives, not to judge, and then you don't have to spend your time forgiving. But you start basically with the things that disturb you. And, we've already reached a level, I hope anybody listening knowing we're always forgiving ignorance. But it's just like that. But the story I want to end with, because it's so personal, and every minister and everyone who's ever worked a counselor, therapist, Caitlin, and her name is like that, it's Irish, but I changed it. Caitlin was a wonderful mom and had a beautiful baby boy. And about 5 years old, the husband, who was a raging alcoholic, abusive, manipulative, she had to leave a few times because he beat her. Anyway, he filed for divorce. He arranged all kinds of false evidence against her as an unfit mother, was awarded full custody of his son, took his son out of state, and ended all communication with the mother, and told the 5-year-old son how cruel and evil his mother was, and how she didn't even care, how she abandoned him. And so she lived with that, tears, and spent every dollar she had in court. After years of that not working, I met her in Detroit when I was doing my internship. And she was the most generous. She couldn't, if you said, I love your dress, she'd take it off and give it to you. She had compensated with all this love, this deep, deep, unbearable pain. But it showed up occasionally with carpal tunnel disease and her just different ways that her body, cancer finally came in. And then when I was established in ministry in Overland Park, she showed up and we sat down and talked. And she told me this deep, 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 deep story, how long. And so I gave her a prayer, Cindy, and it's called the Child of Light Prayer. And I think I might have sent you a copy, but basically it's a simple prayer. And so we sat together And she started this prayer, and it begins with I forgive everything, breathing in. And then she began this prayer, which she used, Cindy, for 6 years.
Wow.
6. Now, I tell most people within 2 to 3 weeks, it's a miraculous prayer. But she was healing. Who knows? This was her probably life contract, don't you think? We all have those big ones.
Yeah.
So she did her prayer. Child of light, I think of you. I see you. Not as I think you ought to do or be. No, child of light. I see you as God sees you. I see you filled with grace and overwhelmed with love. I see every aspect of your life being given you to begin again and to choose high and the best practices. I see you walking with love and your family. And you can put in anything you want, but not personal. I see you fulfilling your destiny. It's got nothing to do with you. It's not, oh, I see you coming back to me. Never once did Caitlin say, oh, please, please, please. No, child of light, I pray for you. I think of you. I lift you up. I see you free. And so it is. Cindy, she ended up moving away to North Carolina, I think it was. She got a job. She got cancer. And the cancer came back to a place where she no longer could work, couldn't care for herself. Her money was gone. She was alone in a city that she didn't know. And the phone rang, Cindy. The phone rang the night before surgery. And it was her son. Her son, 22 years later, 6 years after she started that blessed prayer. And he said his dad had gotten sober. His dad had made his amends and told him he'd made up absolutely everything. And he was so, so sorry. And the next day, her son arrived on a plane in North Carolina to care for his mom. Oh. And now last time I heard, and it's been years, she had moved to the town. She'd welcomed a daughter-in-law, and she was playing with grandchildren. Wow. Now, is that reason to practice radical forgiveness? So, Cindy, I'm so happy to say the beloved community it's worth every effort it takes to get to peace, to forgive everyone and everything, because the truth is, nothing has ever happened to me, Cindy, that I didn't do to someone else. That's a hard thing to bear. But when you realize it, we have lifetimes. We've been ignorant. We've all played all the roles. The good news is, Jesus said, the best deal in the universe: forgive and be forgiven. Forgive and be set free. Now that's a deal. If you don't accept it, I guess it'll be a longer wait for your peace of mind. Anyway, Cindy, it's always an honor to share.
I just adore you. I love you. And I learn so much every time I talk to you, my dear friend and teacher. God bless you and be with you in peace always. I love you and stay well, okay?
Okay, but when will this go out, this podcast?
Oh,
when
soon. As soon as I post
so
it.
Then I think we should know, since it isn't your toolbox spiritual book, it's your prayer book that is the best Christmas.
It's going to be out first in audio, yeah. And this
book will be on
peaceprojects.com. This will be out, and I'll post
it. That tool book that you wrote,
yeah,
that's a bedside book.
Yes.
That's a book that people will thank you years later. If you put your name in it, they're going to find you 10 years later.
And I'm going to make a book out of all these talks we've done. So this will be in the next book after that.
Well, Cindy, I love a girl.
I love you.
I put makeup on for you now.
I know, and you're gorgeous. And thank you for all the birds flying around your head. You know I love the birds. So God bless you and aloha.
This is my bedroom is right over there, and my workstation dining room's here, and my garden is all over there, and the ocean is over there, and the birds fly in and the birds fly out, and I'm the happiest hippie I know.
I love you and aloha.
Thank you, darling. Much love.